So let's get back involved on this problem because I think that we did a pretty good job getting some of the basics done. And we said, look, we have a little bit of a recipe that we can use. And I was giving a look at, we have this R1 Brain Center, and we were spending our time with the buyer class. And so let's go over to the buyer. There's certain things we need to know. And then when we build up that random portfolio, it's kind of when the pedal hits the metal because it individuates each of the buyers. Each of the buyers chooses from our rich market and they acquire a portfolio based upon a strategy, maybe a strategy that is random but is differentiated. So there are different players with different budgets making different choices from different industries, making at different prices, and that's the larger market. It's hard to explain why things happen in the market. It's not known, why there's sell-off or why there's price increase, or why one sector is leading the market. And the only explanation is well, when prices are going up, that's because there's competition for the same stock. When prices are going down, people are they're finding a discount because there's a lack of demand for the stock. And so what happens is the big hedge funds and the bigger buyers, the institutions, come out of nowhere with $4 billion to spend, a war chest, and they buy an underappreciated asset, something that's cheap. And so because they're buying such a large volume of stock, and the fact that the stock market is just a money-raising environment to begin with, they're probably able to get a discount. And so the strange thing is oftentimes when stocks are going down in price, that's actually because a very large player stepped into the market and showed vast interest in the stock and actually acquired it at a discount. So when you guys try this, try like $25, put it into an E-Trade account, buy a share of AT&T, trading at $28 or whatever it is this week. Everything's down this week. And you realize that you could actually undercut the price. So you don't need to pay the market. You could pay less than the market price. You can do that. And when you do, and if they accept your trade, which may or may not happen, you should say to everybody, hey, I just tanked AT&T 1%. Because they just sold you a stock at a discount. Now, the average market should not allow a single retail buyer to tank AT&T 1%. AT&T is a 200 odd billion dollar company. So you Cal Poly student or wherever, you shouldn't be able to impinge upon their stock price. The CEO would write you a letter and said, ha ha, very funny. Congratulations, you've made my life miserable, freshman at Cal Poly. But that's what makes the market interesting. So we want there to be randomness. So let's get the market randomly choose a stock to buy. So there's a couple of things we have in motion. We have the market with 6,000 stocks. And if we go back and look at the structure of the market itself, we've made a market, we go on over to that class, there's an array list of stocks whose name is M. And that contains all the stocks that we are inventorying within the market. So technically we could say we could actually send the buyer a copy of the market for a moment, building the random portfolio using the array, built upon a market. We'll call that the market, and that's fine. We could actually, say we now have access to a copy of the market. So if we were to say market.get market.m rather, because that's the array list, we could say get a particular stock within that, and we could say get us the 5,000th stock. And we could say system.out println stock details for stock 5,000 is now the truth of it is when we do get, that's most likely going to return a stock. And the reason why, and this may sound a little technical, is because M is an array list of type stock. So whatever is inside of that stock is going to be, whatever is inside of the index. So we could say L dot symbol at price, L dot price. Now this is going to take a little bit of study. The fact that we are able to gain this kind of efficiency, this is the challenge for you as a young programmer. I mean, the fact that you tackled the for loop last time we talked is good. Now, if you think about, well, why does this work? It's like, well, the market, that variable market is of type market. The type of that is market. It's a type-driven language. And the M inside of that environment is an array list of stocks. So that's a wonderful exercise in types, in creating custom types. So the difference here is we need to be able to build a random portfolio by passing it a market. So all this compiles neatly, it all builds neatly, but probably what we want to do is we want to say, that buyer, we want to, create a random portfolio. And so this probably shouldn't be private anymore. Probably it should be public. And because it's public, it will become visible. Build a random portfolio now. Okay, so this is on YouTube, so I can go fast. But we want to send it the market. Give the buyer class access to all the stocks in the market. Now, once we do that, a function does two things. It accepts input and it provides output. And our plan here, we got to track down this little error, wherever that is. But we're going to do a little printing once we get a look at the market. And it's an important proof that I want to show you guys. So build random portfolio, now I need to say that that's built on a market. And I'm actually going to erase that from the constructor, because we want to be able to send in this market from there. All right, so let's give that a little shot. And let's see that he's able to output stock number 5,000. So the stock, okay, so this buyer has a budget and he's decided to make 14 purchases. And the budget per purchase is this large number. And so just to show off, we're able to grab the 5,000th stock, and their symbol is this, and they're trading at that price. So let me say, if that sounds okay to you, that's going to be an important strategy for satisfying this requirement where there's a budget with a portfolio. Okay. Now, just to summarize, and we'll go into a separate video to take this the rest of the way. If I'm actually able to grab a stock based upon an integer, what if I were to pass a random integer to the get feature? I would get a random stock. I would get a stock at that location. That would be a random stock. So let's do this. Random R is a new random. And then let's just say that in L, I love L, but I'm just going to have to use X here. And I can't use X, it's so distracting. But my index is going to be r.next integer, but I'd like for there to be a limit of 6,000. Why don't we make a limit of 6,000 there. And what we'll say is instead of this, after you've generated the random number here, I'd like to get that randomly generated number. And then you can tell me all about what stock I randomly got. And I'll advertise that I'm smart by saying my random stock detail here is this. So let's go ahead and run that. And so it appears that's 5,000. And that's because, and let's do this just to feel even smarter. We'll say, we'll kind of show off the random number that we generated there. I like how Eclipse kind of lights everything up right there. That's good. And let's go ahead and run that. And now we'll say the random stock details for stock number 534 is that's its symbol and that's its price. Okay, let's run it a few more times. Get our market. And so the 4,500 first stock is that. And now we're in an interesting position. Now this gives me the illusion that this buyer is choosing a stock of his or her own volition. You know, for whatever reason, people buy stuff for whatever their strategy is. Like you guys, when you get done, maybe when you're finished with college, maybe now you're going to start choosing stocks based upon information technology companies that you believe are going places, right? Maybe you'll even work at a bank, you know, where you'll make portfolio decisions, you know, based upon IT companies that are going places, you know, and so we're able to choose this kind of random stock at this point. And you notice there's an important feature of the array list, the .get, that's particularly valuable to us. The .get, but you need to supply an integer at that point. And that integer will provide one of the stocks inside of the numeric index of the array list. Okay? So let's put that on pause and give you a chance to digest and maybe add this to your code. And we'll go on to the next thing real soon, because we're almost there. We've almost created a portfolio. So randomly choose a stock to buy. Okay, that's done. Next, get the price of the chosen stock. Yeah, I think we were able to do that. And then divide the allocation per transaction by the stock's price. I think that'll fall into place nicely. And then what we'll need to do is to build up some transactions at that point. So great. Okay, see you in a minute.